It is currently the Wednesday before the Christmas light show opens, and we have had a hell of a ride getting everything put together. If you're coming to the show, I'm really excited to meet you and share in the Christmas cheer. If not, I'm excited to share the show with you here on YouTube in a couple weeks' time. As always, despite the best possible planning, we only really got started with the Christmas lights install with 3 weeks to go till opening night. And I had, yet again, bitten off a little more than I could realistically chew. I didn't know it yet, but I'd have to contend with storms, broken pixels, and the police before the show opens. If you've not seen the rest of the series, I'm working on a massive pixel LED light display at my parents' house for Christmas. We've built a bunch of new props for the show throughout the series, but I haven't told you how it all works together yet. This video should fill in a bunch of those gaps and satisfy your curiosity about how those epic Christmas light shows you see all work. But before showing you all that, we need to get our lights installed. Fortunately, most of our props are built to make the installation quick each year. Our first priority was to get all the existing props set back up, then add the new mini trees, mega tree, and floodlights. I started with the window frames. They're made from fiberglass garden stakes and 3D printed corner joiners to keep them straight. I had to reprint a couple of joiners we broke when taking it all down last year, but most went straight back where they were last time. They simply zip tie to some anchors around each window. Each frame has 50mm seed pixels zip tied along the edges and terminated with X-Connect style pigtails on both ends. We used this connector type across the whole show to keep everything standardized. Each prop has an in and an out pigtail so we can daisy chain them together. I'll explain more of how that works later. Next, I checked in on the roof pixels. I climbed up, plugged them into a receiver box, and tested the lot. They're mounted using zip tie anchors glued to the ridge of the tiles with the same 50mm seed pixels we use for the window frames. A few of the anchors had come loose, so I'll need to fix those before opening night. The gutter runs use some little clips I designed that are 3D printed and hook over the gutter profile and let you slide the pixel wire into place. It keeps everything nice and low profile. I wasn't sure the pixels would survive a year in the Aussie sun and rain, but to my surprise,
it all works.
Holy crap. Every single one of them fired right up. Not bad for cheap AliExpress pixels, and it gave me a bit of a boost in confidence on how the rest of my props will last. When it was time to position the mini trees, we marked an arc using a string line, which was actually just a couple of extension leads, and some marking spray. The stakes went in at regular intervals, and the trees slide over the top of the stakes. The bottom plate has a hole for this exact purpose, plus some extra holes for pegs so you can stop them spinning or rotating. We also installed our pixel arches, which are just hula hoops cut in half and attached to a 1x2 for consistent spacing. They've got 50mm seed pixels zip tied along them as well. I installed the speakers, which are some nice outdoor Bose units we got on Marketplace that actually sound really, really good. And we ran the cables back to where our amp is located next to the controller. With everything except the mega tree positioned, we got the props all plugged in one by one. I'm using a controller that connects to a single board computer running Falcon Pixel Player or FPP. These controllers and the receivers I'll show you later are made by a bunch of different brands. They're usually referred to as pixel controllers as a more generic term. I'm using a Culp controller here and Falcon receivers. This controller takes our program sequences from another piece of software called X-Lights and converts them into pixel data. I'll show you more about X-Lights a little later. The controller sends 4 pixel ports worth of data down a standard Cat6 cable to a receiver board. These boards are fitted to a power supply, really clever design by the way, and are installed in a waterproof box so they can be outside in the weather close to the props and lights they're going to be controlling. Each receiver box has a 350 watt 12 volt power supply inside, which is about 30% oversized for the seed pixels we're using and the brightness we run our show at, which for us is about 40 or 50%. Each receiver has 4 pixel port outputs. Each one has 3 wires: ground, the live or power wire, and data. There are also fuses for each output. We use these waterproof X-Connect connectors to connect our receivers to each of the props in the show, and then we daisy chain multiple props on each pixel port output. When the receiver is on, the power and ground wires power all the pixels in the string, and the data wire tells each pixel what to do. Each port can handle up to 800 individually addressable pixels each. So we need to manage how many props are plugged into each one to stay under that number. For example, our mini trees have about 370 pixels each, so we can have a maximum of 2 trees per port. Our window frames have a little less than 185 pixels each, so we can daisy chain up to 4 of them. The critical part is that we need to tell X-Lights, our sequencing software, what prop each pixel belongs to. Let me explain. Our pixels only know what number in the string they are, so we need to tell the software at which pixel each prop starts and ends. If on this port we have 2 mini trees, we tell X-Lights that the first 378 pixels belong to tree 1 and the next 378 belong to tree 2. Then we connect the trees in that order. If we replace tree 1 with a window frame that only has 185 pixels or so, our controller would still think the first 378 pixels are a tree, and so would light the first 378 pixels when our sequence tells it to, which in this case would continue on to the next prop in the daisy chain. It can be a little bit tricky to get your head around, but X-Lights does most of the thinking here. All this means is it's critical for X-Lights to know exactly which prop is in which port and in which order, and exactly how many pixels are on each prop. We left the Megatree till last so we could concentrate on making sure it was installed properly and to allow us some troubleshooting time knowing the rest of the show was already done. And I'm very glad we did. My plan was to ditch the Megatree's bulky tripod and design a low-profile printed base we could bolt straight into the driveway. Paired with the guy wires, this would keep the tree rock solid without anything in the way or anything for people to tamper with. I was really excited to try this on my brand new Prusa Core 1L. The huge build area, AC printed bed and circulation fans with automatic vent system all seem perfect for big, warp-prone ASA prints. It came pre-calibrated, set up easily, and after dialing in the filament, I kicked off a nearly 20-hour print. But as the chamber heated, the printer's acrylic door warped, leaving a massive gap that bled warm air. I couldn't get the chamber past about 51 Celsius, so I taped the door shut. I suspect the acrylic heated unevenly, causing it to warp. Glass wouldn't have done this. Thankfully, it hasn't warped like that since, so I think the internal stresses work themselves out, though I haven't pushed the printer much since my first attempt at using it. Eventually, the printer hit 52 Celsius, which was close enough, and I started the print. Around 3 AM, it ran out of filament and paused, but after 30 minutes, the machine timed out and shut off the heated bed. The chamber cooled, the print started shrinking, which ASA does, and when I resumed it a few hours later with some new filament, the new layers wouldn't adhere properly and the print cracked due to the warping and uneven heating. Print ruined. A kilo of filament straight into the bin. On a machine this big, where you can chew through a 2 kilo spool in one job easily, expecting users to be within 30 minutes of the printer when it runs out is unrealistic. Yes, absolutely be safe, protect against thermal runaway, don't let the print bed stay heated when there's nothing on the printer, but shutting it off during the filament out pausing makes no sense. Frustrated, I tried again. This time I helped insulate the top with a couple of towels to help it reach the 55-degree chamber temperature I was after, and maybe to trap some heat in the event of another filament outage event. It worked really well, even hitting the 60 Celsius upper limit where the rear exhaust fans kick in. The print ran beautifully for 7 hours until a heatbed thermal runaway error shut the whole machine down. No option to resume, whole print wasted. At this point, I gave up and reverted to the tripod. That error in particular was probably my fault for trapping heat with towels, but I'd assumed the exhaust fans could keep up. It does make me wonder how the Core 1L will cope with the summer heat here in Australia in my garage. Hopefully Prusa can iron out these software issues and make it a more reliable large format machine, but so far the experience hasn't been awesome. I had planned for the base to include a 3D printed custom shim matched to the slope of my folks' driveway so the tree could be secure and perfectly straight. But alas, I'll have to try my overcomplicated method another year. Maybe this is a case of a 3D printer being the wrong tool for the job? Nah. So we set to work installing the Megatree using the tripod. Fortunately, there's an adjustable leg to assist with keeping everything straight, so we positioned the tree on the slope and marked out locations for our guy wires. Which brings me to today's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay has been a huge part of bringing this year's Christmas display to life. They've helped with everything, from the custom PCBs driving our mini trees and mega tree, all the way through to some beautifully made CNC machined aluminium parts for the mega tree. These pieces here were designed specifically to hold the tree in place safely, even in inclement weather. This top cap slides neatly over the pole and gives me 3 mounting points for stainless steel support cables using simple M5 bolts. The matching base plates will be bolted into the driveway to keep the whole thing absolutely rock solid. One of the reasons I love working with PCBWay is that I get access to materials and processes that just aren't practical for me to have here in my garage. Things like plasma cutting of sheet metal, CNC machining of aluminium, or 3D printing of materials like titanium. I can't do that in here, but with PCBWay's help, I can order it and have it on my doorstep in just a couple weeks. For these Megatree parts, I just uploaded my step files, selected a handful of options, and hit go. It took all of 10 minutes to get the order in, and after their engineers reviewed it, it arrived on my doorstep in just under 2 weeks, and the quality of the work is fantastic. So if you've got a project that needs custom metalwork, CNC machining, 3D printing, or even a PCB or two, definitely check out PCBWay. Thanks again to PCBWay for sponsoring this whole project. Once the tree was in position, we marked the guy wire spots and drilled a few 15mm holes into my parents' brand new driveway. We're using self-tapping concrete anchors with a 10mm internal thread, which means when the show's over for the year and we pack it down, we can just screw in temporary plugs and the driveway goes back to being a driveway. We bolted down the machined aluminium anchors, fitted the collar to the top of the tree, and made up our cables. They're held on with 5mm stainless bolts. Not exactly textbook rigging, but perfectly fine for what we're doing. With everything tightened, I gave the tree a solid shake and muttered the classic Australian engineering phrase, "She'll be right." We left the tree up for a couple of days without the lights installed to make sure nothing moved around. And when we came back, it was still rock solid and in the exact same place. Perfect. I hit the PVC base with some flat black spray paint, installed the spokes, and then the outer wheel, and moved on to the strings. The same process as when we tested back at home: top it on, unfurl each string, strap the bottoms to the base, and crank the tree up, keeping an eye out for tangles. I think I'll need to rethink the base design for next year. It's kind of dished a little bit and flexed, and in hindsight, the design for my sort of hub section is not great. But that's the wonder of 3D printing. I can just print a new version next year with improvements on this year's design based on what we've learned. Next up was the wiring. This receiver box is much bigger than the others, but that's because it has 3 receiver boards and 3 power supplies for a total of 12 ports. 10 for the tree and 2 for other props. We plugged everything in, linked it to the main controller, and started testing all of our props to make sure we had the pixel counts right and they were all in the right ports. This part took days last year, so I was bracing for pain. I lit up each prop one by one, and at first it looked like we'd completely miscounted or mispatched everything, until Britt noticed that 2 receiver boxes were swapped on the controller. A quick fix and everything sprang to life. The only real issue was 1 dead string on the Megatree, and a couple of failed mini trees, but they should be an easy fix. After a few minor pixel count tweaks to correct some mistakes, we were done. It took minutes instead of the days last year. We clearly learned something. We packed up and headed home feeling pretty confident everything was coming together well. For the last few weeks, we've been working on the sequences for this year's show, even before we put up all the lights. We use a piece of software called X-Lights to handle our sequencing or programming of the lights to music. There's other software out there to do the same job, but X-Lights is free and open source, and there's a really great community around it. If you've ever done any video editing, X-Lights will look vaguely familiar to you. You have a timeline with your music and all your effects in it, and you can layer your effects and position them to time up with your music however you'd like. I won't go through how to use X-Lights, but I will give you an idea of how it works on a technical level. In X-Lights, you create all your props virtually and position them the same way they're positioned in the real world in 3D space. To make this easier, I created a 3D model of my parents' place that I loaded into X-Lights, then I used that as a reference for the prop positions in real life. Once you've built your layout, as X-Lights calls it, you can create sequences. This is a sequence of effects that plays on your props, timed and linked to the timing of your music. You can layer effects, use effects as masks, use different colors or combinations of colors, whatever you want. And X-Lights provides live playback of your virtual display so you can see it all in real time. Think of it like creating a colorful video animation. X-Lights renders it just like video, but in our case, the screen is my parents' front yard and the pixels between all our LEDs are missing. This allows us to have effects that span the whole house or just a single prop in any combination of brightness and color we like. Since X-Lights knows where each prop is, how many pixels belong to each prop, and on what port they are, it can map the correct values to each pixel. Once our sequence is done, we can upload it to our FPP controller, the one we saw earlier, and it'll play back the video on our screen in 3D space and playback sound in time with it. We adapted all of last year's sequences to include the new props and made a couple of new ones. Our next step was to test the show.
Police assistance line. Before we continue, can you please confirm there is no one in danger, injured, or in need of immediate assistance?
No, nothing like that.
What can I help you with?
It looks like my car was broken into last night. I just want to report it.
Okay, can you please provide
The
me with
night
your
after
full name
our
and
first
address?
real test, my car, which was loaded with all our spares, tools, and our newborn's pram, was broken into. They took half the pram, all the spare pixels for the show, our backup controller, my pixel tester, a bunch of floodlights, and a handful of tools. Thankfully, I never leave my laptop in the car, but it was still a huge blow. The police came out and dusted for prints, but I don't think we'll ever be seeing any of our gear again. Though, if somebody sees somebody selling half a pram and about $1,000 worth of Christmas lighting equipment and custom PCBs, let me know. The really annoying part is I have a whole box of security cameras sitting in my office waiting to be installed. I just hadn't gotten around to it. If you want a video on that and getting all that set up and integrated into our smart home, let me know in the comments. With everything stolen, we suddenly had no spares, no backup controller, no way to test my repairs on the mini trees at home, and a pram we couldn't use. All just days before opening night. It was incredibly discouraging. We'd been on such a high and this completely deflated me. We took stock of what we had and made a plan. We'd have to leave the dead string on the mega tree. We didn't have any spare pixels to repair it. It looks like a pixel failed partway up the string and no data is making it past, knocking out the next string in the chain too. Fortunately, the mega tree is dense enough that it still looks pretty good without the missing string. We still had a couple of last year's mini trees around and we may be able to salvage some pixels from those to repair the new mini trees if needed. And we could just make do with 2 of our floodlight rigs. All wasn't lost, far from it. Fortunately, I had a roll of 100mm pixels that I'd taken out of my Christmas light tub a few days ago, so I can still finish the cherry on top of our mega tree. With that little setback behind us, I did what I could with the mini trees without any spares. One of them was just user error in my application of the liquid electrical tape, which I repaired in just a few minutes. The other one appears to be a failing pixel, which I was able to repair with salvage strings from the old mini trees. I threw together a quick 3D printed star to go on top of our mega tree using that roll of 100mm pixels to finish it. For the record, the Core 1L worked beautifully on these smaller prints. Then we headed over to Mum and Dad's to install it and run one of our sequences to test the show out with some music for the first time. But I'm keeping that for the next video. I'm very excited to share it with you all. There'll be one more video in this series covering the opening night of the show, and we'll be uploading the complete show to my second channel, The Saucepan. So head over there and get subscribed so you don't miss it. And let me know if you have any questions about the show and how it works down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you next time.